another spot where we can see the Bible really coming to life. That's the amazing thing of living here in Eretz Israel. And right now in Judges chapter 2, for our viewers, just to tell you a little bit of what's happening in chapter 2, we can see that we jump a little bit back to Joshua and what he reminded the Israelites of. And you can see here, I'm going to read to you, it says here in verse 2, "But you have not obeyed me." And he says, "The enemy shall become your oppressors, and their gods shall be a snare to you." And then we see an explanation of a model of a cycle that's going to repeat itself for 400 years. And I just want to read it to the readers here, if you can follow with me. It says in verse 10, "Another generation arose after them, and they worshipped the Baalim." So they went into idolatry, exactly what Moses and Joshua told them not to do. We already saw that it was very difficult. When they got into the land, it was not that easy just to take the land, and the Canaanites were there, etc. And then it goes on, and it says here, every time when Israel got into great distress, God will send a judge. This judge will take them out of their misery. And every time they will go back to idolatry, as we say, a 400-year cycle. What was a judge? What exactly was a judge? From what I understand, it was somebody that led them politically, military, but also prophetically. So we are standing in a very, very important place. If you can explain to us
Sure.
why that connects to what we just read right now.
Sure. We're standing right now on Mount Gerizim, Har Gerizim. Below us, we see the ancient city of Shechem. Tel Balata, below us. And opposite us is Mount Eval, Har Eval, with the city of Shechem between Mount Gerizim and Eval. Shechem is a center point for much of the story of Judges, and of course it's the place where Joshua gathers the people in Joshua 24. It's a really important city because it's located in the center of the Israelite area of settlement. And yet, it was a royal city in the Canaanite period, and it remains a city with a large Canaanite population, as far as we understand from the book of Judges. And it's a location where in the middle of the Israelite areas, Israelites and Canaanites meet together. Mm-hmm. The book of Judges portrays the epitome of Canaanite culture as the worship of the god Baal, whereas the Israelite culture is portrayed as epitomized by the worship of God. And so the question is, how will the Israelites interact with the population of Shechem, who are people many of whom worship Baal?
I want to take you on that because you also pointed out that Joshua gathered the people once at Shiloh and now at Shechem. And this explains exactly what you are
So in Joshua 24, where Joshua wants to gather the people and establish boundaries, saying you must not worship the Baalim, he does it here at Shechem. Because here at Shechem, there is a population that worships Baalim, that worships Baal. And so there is relevance to telling the people, here at Shechem, worship not Baal. Distinguish yourselves from the Canaanites. Because Shechem is a Canaanite city, and here is the interaction between Israelites and Canaanites.
So this is the difference between Shiloh, he told them how to do the physical boundaries.
Right. Shiloh is a place where the Israelites organize themselves within the Israelite community.
Correct.
Shechem, in contrast, is a place where the Israelites distinguish themselves from the surrounding Canaanite population, because Shechem is a city where there is a Canaanite population. That's why much of the Judges cycle is about the Israelites developing themselves as a separate ethnic group, a group who don't worship the Baal like the Canaanites of Shechem do, a group who see themselves as dedicated to God, and that's why this whole period of Joshua and Judges is immersed and imbued with this idea of Israelite self-identity developing. Mount Gerizim, where we're standing here, Mount Eval, opposite us, where the Torah is written in the 8th chapter of Joshua, and Shechem, which is between them below us, are the places where this ethnic identity develops with a contrast and conflict with the Canaanites.
And it's very interesting, while we're standing here, just to tell the viewers as well, these are the two mountains through which Israel in the beginning had to pass through. And again, it's like they come back to this point where Joshua then tells them again that you have to watch yourselves not to mix with the Canaanites, to keep the Torah, and also we will look a little bit more about how they conducted themselves with the king.
part of the challenge that we find in the book of Judges is that there is no central leadership. Joshua's gone, Moses is gone, and each tribe is operating on its own. In many ways, the stories of Moses, especially in the book of Numbers and Deuteronomy, stories of Joshua, especially at the end of the book of Joshua, are meant to prepare the Israelites for this challenge. When there's not going to be central leadership, and when there's a real question of what distinguishes the Israelites from the Canaanites. Are the Israelites just other Canaanites? Are the tribes united? Are the tribes elements of larger Canaanite culture? And for that reason, we find an interesting parallel between what Joshua does in chapter 24 and actions that Moses did in the Torah.
It almost parallels on three ways.
Parallels in three ways, and let's look at those three ways. The first way is that in Joshua 24, we're told that Joshua established law and order for the Israelites at Shechem. Joshua chapter 24, verse 25.
Torah Hashem. Yes.
The phrase is not Torah Hashem, but Chok u'Mishpat.
Okay.
Chok u'Mishpat. It's a phrase that appears in the Torah, in the book of Exodus, chapter 15, verse 25. Long before, several chapters before the Torah is given, there's this idea of Chok u'Mishpat, some kind of communal order, some kind of organization of the community that, in some sense, precedes Torah. Joshua gives Chok u'Mishpat at Shechem, just as Moses had done when the Israelites left Egypt and crossed the sea in Exodus chapter 15. A second point is that Joshua creates a covenant here at Shechem. It is important that there be a covenant between the Israelites and God. The idea of covenant, or brit, is central to Israelite identity and to Israelite relationship with God.
And this is sort of a renewal?
Yes, it's a renewal of the covenant that God made with the Israelites at Sinai, that Moses renews in the plains of Moab, and that Joshua then renews here at Shechem, because that is the center of Israelite identity. The third point, of course, is that Joshua writes Torah here at Shechem.
And that's the Torah Hashem. Okay.
And that's right. Joshua writes the Torah just as Moses did here at Shechem. Three elements of Israelite identity: the Chok u'Mishpat, the law and order, the covenant, the brit, and then the Torah, are all renewed in Joshua chapter 24 to prepare the Israelites for the encounter with the Canaanite population.
And I think that's the most important of what we see reoccurring all the time, is that the leaders, before their time on earth is finished, they keep on reiterating, you guys have to understand the Brit, the covenant, the Torah, so that you will be able to establish yourselves in the land. And what we see here is during the times of the judges, everybody is acting independently. There's a lot of infighting between the tribes themselves. There's a lot of battle with the enemy on the borders itself. But this can only be broken, this whole cycle, when Samuel comes and he finally establishes a king.
Samuel is indeed portrayed as the one who unifies the Israelite tribes and then gives over the mantle of leadership initially to Saul, then to David, and it's David's job to begin the process of unifying the Israelites.